to spend $1 a day, that's great that we say anecdotally that's what the number is, less than a cup of coffee. That's great. To some people, that's a lot of money. To me, it's a lot of money, hundreds of dollars, even on a yearly basis, it's a lot of money. When we're asking the public to take on that burden, they need to trust us as a board, they need to trust staff, all the way down to the officers that are out there patrolling. But ultimately, they need to trust staff and the board to make the right decisions as to how that money is spent. So that's where I struggle, and I know a lot of folks in the community struggle. So I guess from my standpoint, we definitely need to have more of these outreaches. I want to hear more from the public. I'd like to recommend we take a online poll. I know those are very popular nowadays as it relates to our new platform. So I'd like to see a poll, does the public support these? We should arrive at a number. I don't think or maybe we don't. Maybe we put out a multitude of different taxes. But anyway, I think it's important for the public, for everybody in this room, and ultimately anybody watching this on video to know where I stand. And it's tragic in my mind. It's sad for me to say, and it is almost with a broken heart that I say I don't trust the very same agency to which I've been elected. But on the good side, I was elected by the people. And if I could take this opportunity, Mr. President, as an aside, speaking of serving the people and being elected by the people, I also want to set the record straight on the last vote on filling the vacancy. It was extremely misconstrued that my rationale was because I had some concern over incumbency. I responded to a comment from Mr. Jensen in which we agreed that was one of the components. Fundamentally, the people of this valley have a right to decide who their elected leaders are. I would much rather 2,000 or 3,000 of you and of your neighbors decide who sits here than 4 old white men. That's my perspective. Some may disagree, and I would almost controversially and contrarianly, if that's even a word, I would almost challenge the folks that feel that there should be an appointment that you're not doing right by the public. You're not inviting the public to choose your leaders, and that is extremely important. So that's my rationale, is I believe in a democratically elected leadership and board, and that is why I made that vote, and I stand by it. So in any event, not to be on a rant here, but again, I think it's important for the people to know how we make our decisions emotionally, psychologically, where we're coming from. So from my standpoint, I do support the police. I theoretically support an increase in taxes to fund the police. I don't know that I am thrilled about the idea of a slush fund or a surplus. Again, it goes back to that trust issue. How is that money going to be spent? But I theoretically support it, but I've got a lot to get past in terms of hearing more from the public, getting more information. Candidly, I did not receive this model until less than 48 hours ago, despite having requested it several times. So it sounds like my colleagues had an opportunity to view the model and maybe play with the numbers a little bit. Again, it goes back to that trust. The general manager said he didn't trust that I wouldn't send it out to the public. I don't know what that meant, but in any event, it goes back to that trust issue. So I simply don't have enough information to speak more intelligently this morning, but I felt it was important to get some of those things off of my chest and on the record. So, Mr. President, that's all I had to say.
Thank you, Director Grace. I appreciate that. I don't have the model either. The only time I've seen...
I'm sorry, I was told you had the model ahead of time.
I don't think
okay.
so.
I was misinformed.
If I have it, I haven't played with it at all, but the times I discussed the model is with one-on-ones with Bill, and I've seen it 5 or 6 times with Bill. If I have the model, I haven't played with it and done anything. And the model's very powerful because you can just change something by $1 and see millions change out to the right. Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
Yes, thank you. I more or less agree with everything that Director Grace has said. I would think in the question of the interim appointment that it would be ideal to, as Kathy Carey has said, have somebody filling the seat on a caretaker basis. No great initiatives, just to keep the ball at the district rolling. And I bet you we could find somebody who would be willing to do that and do not want to commit for 4 years, beginning in November. So, Dr. Samuel Johnson famously said that the knowledge that you are to be hung in the morning concentrates the mind wonderfully. And the knowledge that we're going to run out of money in 7 years in reserve and 10 or 11 years in actual operating funds should be concentrating our minds wonderfully. I don't expect to be around then. Who knows? I think it's incumbent upon us to think in those terms for those who have been around a while and have benefited from the laxness of previous boards and previous management. It's kind of time to pay the piper. Judgment Day is coming, and you have to speak to your conscience and what you've done right and wrong. I cannot conceive of anybody in the Valley not being willing to say the gate and the police department are of value to us. And in today's world, $1.50 is not that damn much. So I'm perfectly on board with an increase. The people who are in the Valley, old-timers like myself, recent arrivals, have the expectation that we have a police department here. The idea that the police department could be taken away and everybody will be happy as clams, I do not believe is going to be the case, and I totally reject that scenario. The number that we finally come up with for the police, for the gate, escalator, not escalator, I can only say that I admire Bill's work in putting this turkey in the oven and bringing it out and having it palatable, because it's a big job, and you do get a little bleary-eyed, you know. My God. As Greg said, I personally did not have the Excel spreadsheet where you could actually fool with the numbers. And only yesterday did I get these static sheets that you can see what's been done, but they're pretty small. So I was looking forward to seeing this a little bit better. But the bottom line is the real point. What numbers are you going to work with to make it happen?
Thank you.
First, I want to begin by thanking everyone for coming here today, especially at such an early hour on a weekday. I kind of lobbied for a later hour where more people could attend and be involved in it, but our former vice president wanted it really early, and we kind of acquiesced. Also, Mr. Mallinen said, this meeting really isn't for you, it's for us. So here we are on a weekday morning discussing something so important. Can I get a raise of hands? How many people are here from the BVS Civil Roundtable? Anyone here? Okay. Of those folks, who actually stood up for the integrity of Director Grace? There was one, yeah, out of 76.
Thank you, Shiva.
That's a shame.
Thank you.
One person, and then certainly our management didn't stand up for it either. Instead, they circled the wagons and put out more social media posts about how, not appointing someone is a bad thing. You shouldn't do it. Let's change public opinion about something that we legislated. That's not management's job. Their job isn't to legislate. Their job is to manage. It's our job to legislate. Regarding the gate tax, Bear Valley Springs has 3 great security features. The first security feature of Bear Valley is its people. Fantastic people, great neighbors, a lot of really good people. We have a lot of law enforcement, retired law enforcement, fire, retired fire, corrections. We have engineers and military and retired military and educators and lawyers and judges. A lot of really smart, good people that make this valley great. That's our first security feature. Our second security feature is really our geography. We're isolated, we're up a big hill, there's one way in, there's one way out. And that third and final excellent security feature is our gate. Our gate is crucial to keeping us secure. Now, this discussion of how much our gate costs isn't anything new. In 2013, the Kern County Grand Jury, they do periodic reviews of local governments, and in that 2013 review of our local government, they suggested that we might want to think about closing our gate to the public during off-peak hours. Seems like a reasonable request that would save probably up to 25% on at least staffing, if not other things. Our district's response was it needed further analysis, and we were going to retain an engineering firm to redesign the gate. Well, that was actually 2 engineering firms ago, and we still haven't redesigned the gate. We've also improved our technology over those past few years that would allow us to perhaps automate the gate so that we wouldn't have to have staffing at all. This is something that even President Hahn suggested at one meeting, that we could automate the gate. We could have used a different technology rather than the RFIDs. We could have used license plate readers that wouldn't have involved staff having to put stickers in your car and all of that. That way the users, meaning us, we could enter our own license plates, we could enter our guests' license plates, and they can drive in much easier. Plus, the license plate reader system actually retains license plates in the system, which is a much bigger security feature than just the RFIDs. In October of last year, I asked Mr. Mallon, and I said, hey, I'd like to see some quotes for private security for our gate. I'd like to see the difference between the $650-some thousand that we spend a year on the gate versus what a professional security company might offer. And he told me that, you know what, we'll do that after the first of the year. Well, the first of the year has come and gone. I've asked him 2 more times, and all I get are reasons why he doesn't want to do it. Well, you know, you realize that our gate is staffed by, you know, mostly our residents here, and, you know, very nice people, and blah, blah, blah. And then the other reason is, well, we're already paying minimum wage, so, you know, how could it possibly be any cheaper? Well, honestly, there are more reasons to use a private security company than just the cost, okay? They can offer a number of other services that would be beneficial to our security. Plus, they're going to have a uniform presence. They're going to be professional looking. You're not going to be driving up to what looks like, you know, Camp Wathamucka, that, you know, you may be greeted by someone dressed as a bear or Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny, and they're not going to be putting little heart stickers on your passes for Valentine's Day week. They're going to look like it's a community that's serious about its security, and that's something we don't have and that we could get from a private security company. Private security companies also might have some insights for our security. These are professionals we're talking about. They're not rent-a-cops, as some people have called them. Most private security companies are managed by former law enforcement people that have training and experience in actual security, something that we don't have and that we lack here. So one of Mr. Mallon's responses